Hi, I'm Chris Frankel, Director of Programming for TRX, and welcome to this week's weekly sequence. Let's get after it. All right, this week's weekly sequence, we're really going to keep the theme going of proximal stability to distal mobility. And what you're going to find, especially with a lot of male athletes, and Nick here is an ex-football player, is that they have a lot of strength in their upper body, but they neglect to put a lot of mobility training in there. So we're going to look at 3 great movements, sequenced in a way to focus not only on strength, but mobile strength, so you're strong in 3D. So first thing we're going to do is our wall slide, stand facing away. So Nick, go ahead and lengthen that to mid-length. Stand facing away from the anchor point, and now you can put your hands into the foot cradles. And for a good mobility exercise, you have to make sure that we're incorporating stability where we want it. So I want you to stand nice and tall, walk your feet even a little bit more forward, so right underneath your hips, good. And now before we do anything else, you got to turn on that core. Core's got to be lit up. You want to think 360-degree contraction around the torso. But now we're also going to make sure that the glutes are turned on, quads are turned on, and here's where Nick's issue comes into play, is he's so dominant in these upper traps. We want these wall slides to really be focused on getting stability from these mid traps. So as I come down in here and I feel these mid traps, I don't feel much turned on. So I want you to try and relax in here. Try and give yourself some space here. Drop those shoulders down away from the ears a little bit more, good. Turn on that core, don't let those shoulders ride up, and try and squeeze those shoulder blades together underneath my fingers. Squeeze here, squeeze here, squeeze here, squeeze here. And now that you got all that action going on from mid T-spine down, I want you to keep those shoulders pulled down and back and reach those hands up over your head. So go ahead and do a 3 or 4 more reps, and what you're thinking is you're standing up against the wall with the back of your head touching the wall, the middle of your shoulder blades touching the wall, your tailbone touching the wall, and your heels touching the wall. So this becomes a really active plank here in the core, in the glutes, more, turn on those glutes, and in the quads, good. And now we're going to get mobilities coming from that shoulder because we have that shoulder girdle set down and back. So Nick's still a little bit tight here in those upper traps, good. You want to break that tension here, come into these mid traps here, and make sure that you're driving that movement from the shoulders reaching up over your head, and relax. So that's our stand facing away wall slides. Stability in the core, looking for mobility in the shoulder girdle. Go ahead and put it into single handle mode, and we're going into our TRX T-Spine Rotation. So he's going to start with his right shoulder lined up to the anchor point. He's going to grab the handle with his left hand. Right hand comes on top. You'll notice that he stepped forward with that right leg, so that inside leg is forward. And now he's going to pull the handles right to the middle of his sternum. But now I want you to walk your feet towards me just a little bit, good. And so now he's planked up. We're really thinking about the left side of that body staying planked up. So I'm going to come in and give him a little cue. Make sure that glute turns on. He's got to be stable in those hips. That core's got to be turned on, tighter, tighter, tighter. And now let's get you out of these upper traps into these mid traps more. Good. So the first thing he's going to do now is let those shoulders rotate to the right. So now his shoulders become square that anchor point. A quick check here to make sure those glutes stay turned on. He's going to let himself lower down like he was doing a row. And now he's got a good strong hold on with that left hand. And now he's going to let go with that right hand and watch that hand reach out. Every time he exhales, he's going to try and get himself to rotate a little bit more through the upper back. One more deep breath in, exhale, good. Bring that hand back, reset, bring himself up to the row, hold for a second, rotate the shoulders again, reset again, come in here, stable, stable, stable mid-trap. Try to relax these upper traps, rotate, hands stay at chest, lower yourself down with both hands, let go with that right hand, deep breath in. Every time you exhale, try and open up that rotation a little bit more. Nice. Come back in, pull it back up. We'll have him do one more rotation on his own, at his own pace. Everything comes from working from a nice, strong core. Make sure you're stable in the hips, stable in the core, and you're looking for mobility in that upper or that T-spine. So you do this on both sides. In the interest of time, we're going to move on to our last exercise here. It's going to be a single arm row. So now that we've developed some mobility into that shoulder girdle, some T-spine mobility, we're going to build some strength and some single arm pulling, and then we're going to progress it to the default move that everybody goes to for the power pull. We're going to show you how to build it off strong, focused movements. So Nick, go ahead and grab whichever side feels stronger now. He's going to start with tension on the suspension trainer right from the start. Good. He adopts that nice, strong plank position here. I'm going to come back in. Quads are turned on, glutes are turned on, core's turned on. These shoulders are pulled down and back. I really want him to focus on mid-trap here. And now lower himself down. He wants to perform the single arm row with no rotation. So he's using that core to resist rotation. You'll notice that he wants to initiate the movement every time with this shoulder coming down and back. So the first movement doesn't become from the elbow flexing, it comes from that shoulder down and back. Good, so we've built some mobility up with those wall slides with the T-spine rotation, so we can see that shoulder girdle moving down and back before that elbow kicks in. Bring yourself up. Go down one more time with no rotation. Bring yourself up with no rotation. Hold it at the top for a second. Now down with no rotation. Now we're going to add rotation into it. Open your shoulders to me. Reach back with that hand. Now initiate the pull the same way. Shoulder comes down and back, and finish with the rotation. So you want to build up the mobility in the shoulders first. Some wall slides, some T-spine rotation. Work into some strength with some single arm rows with no rotation. And finish off with that power pull. Not going through the motions, but making sure you're stable where you want to be, you're mobile where you want to be, and you're building strength within that mobility. Thanks for tuning in for this week's weekly sequence, and make sure you check out this month's download, Condition to Win.